Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I'm a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. And this is a video about the Cancer full moon that took place on January 3rd at 5:02 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, definitely check a time zone converter for your local time. I am so excited to kick off the year with you. Happy New Year to you. Thank you for joining me for another rotation around the sun. There are just a handful of relationship readings available in my calendar for January. If you'd like to get an update on your situation and where things are headed and what you can look forward to in the new year, you can book with me. The link is below kmoonastro.com in the description box. The Lightworker Energy Update included a lot of relevant information specifically for the energies in our divine masculine energetic grids because of the fact that there is a very loose conjunction to this new moon from Jupiter. So, if you identify in predominantly divine masculine energy, or you know someone who does, definitely have a listen to that. I also would strongly encourage you to have a listen since this operates and functions significantly more like a part two, so that you're not kind of a sitting duck. You can really learn how to use the energy. The information on utilizing the energy is always in the Lightworker Energy Update. The Twin Flame Update doesn't really give you the empowerment. It gives you the what, but it's the Lightworker Energy Update that gives you more of the how. So if you're new here, welcome. I always encourage you to listen to that first, then come back and listen to this since we all have both divine masculine and divine feminine energy inside of us. Let's take a look at this particular new moon. Full moon. It's got so much cardinal energy. It feels like a new moon, even though it is a full moon. I'm sure I messed that up a couple of times in the Lightworker Energy Update, but there's our full moon at the 13th degree of Cancer, opposite everything over here in Capricorn. We also saw communication as well with Nessus in Pisces, Jupiter there, of course, in Cancer, a square to Make there in Libra, and a I think that's everything. In summary, this particular full moon would have provided a lot of revelation about emotional and spiritual truths that can't be ignored at this time, especially if you had any sort of breakdown, blow up, or emotional sort of meltdown internally with yourself or with another person in interpersonal interaction. It doesn't have to be with a counterpart. It could have been with a parent, a child, a friend, a colleague. um have a listen to that Lightworker lunar update, because that one is going to give you some added intel about why that happened, what to do with it, and where we go from here. Okay. And if it happened in connection with a counterpart in particular, this is going to help you understand what you need to be doing. That particular Lightworker lunar update will help you understand what you need to do to recover and the timeline for recovery. That stuff won't be covered here in the same way. Okay, so here is Juno. I always like to start with Juno. She is our divine feminine energy in the zodiac. She's at that first degree of Capricorn. I love seeing her in Capricorn after she spent the tail end of 2025 in our sign that deals with truth, and aiming towards our goals, Sagittarius. Now she's in the sign of boundaries and building structure. She will be here through the end of March as she travels through Capricorn. This is a workup toward power. Now, as she crosses into Aquarius, she's going to meet with she's going to meet up with Pluto for a conjunction. And in that conjunction with Pluto, which represents power, she's now currently semi-sextile to Vesta and Pluto, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. This is going to amplify a sense of personal power in the divine feminine energetic grids for all of us. But for right now, um, she is semi-sextile Vesta and Pluto there inside of Vesta's in Capricorn and Pluto is in Aquarius. This really locks Juno into a journey toward that amplification of personal power. Those of you who are comfortable with power, you're likely already feeling this surge coming into your field as the dust from the holidays settles. This energy is about stepping up in our lives, building and solidifying foundations, structures, boundaries through expanding our capacity to act and our ability to get things done. Okay, this is going to really encourage us to become even more resourceful, to take more action, to be measured in that action, but to also leave no stone unturned when it comes to those three things that I just mentioned: structure, boundaries, and foundations. As she travels through the sign that represents all three of those, that's Capricorn. You'll notice here that she's also conjunct to Mercury, which I love. This opens up communication through the divine feminine energy fields. Now, let me be clear. You all who have been here with me for a while are a sophisticated bunch. This doesn't just mean haul off and text somebody, okay? But if you do have something to say at this full moon, this is a good time to open up the lines of communication, get it off your chest. But keep in mind everything I've said about this full moon and the complications in emotionality that I mentioned in the light worker energy update stand for her as well. So it's going to be important if you have something to say, do it in a way that not only honors the emotional intensity that may have surfaced for you, but recognizes you're not the only one on the dance floor. Somebody else may have emotional intensity going on as well. Okay, so keep it balanced, keep it measured, keep it clear, right? Keep it connected as opposed to spun out or repressed and shut down. Okay. Now, if you haven't already done some communication of some format, or if you have and it's just, not gone the way you anticipated, there are recommendations in there for how to recover in the Lightworker Lunar Update. We also see a conjunction very loose to Pholus, but Pholus was also featured in opposition to this full moon. So what's interesting about this is that Pholus in the mix can compromise communications and connections at this time through us being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, or the right thing at the wrong time, or the wrong thing at the only time you were given space to say something. So it's complicated. Again, have a listen to that Lightworker energy update for clarity and recommended solutions as the full moon heightens the potential for this kind of communication that just doesn't land the way you hope it will, unfortunately. Can you open it up? Yes. Do you need to be thoughtful about that? Also, yes. Especially if their emotions are running high, given the other placements that I talk about over there. We also see Juno in square to Saturn, Neptune, and Ceres. Here is Saturn, here is Neptune right next, and then Ceres there spanning 26 degrees Pisces to 7 degrees Aries. For those who are sensitive, we use that wider orb. This can create some challenges with moving forward when it comes to making needed closure in situations. Nevertheless, that closure is happening. That closure at this full moon for the divine feminine energy field looks a lot like closing out types of communication and thought cycles that hinder union and harbor separation, resentment, harbor aloofness, harbor a sense of like overly thick boundaries, this sort of thing, where or even identities that don't serve. Like, I've met people who are like, no, I feel like a bit more of a lone wolf, and that's my identity in this lifetime, and I'm not giving it up. Or, I'm no good for good guys. I'm only good for bad guys. Met some women who have that sort of personal identity about self and they like men. This sort of thing. So if that's the case where you've got some identity going on and that Ceres and Aries trying to close that out around who you are as a partner that's not serving you, Saturn, Neptune, and Ceres are working overtime to try to help you knock it off. It's like the universe wants you to have love and connection because that's what we're built for. Everything is meant to operate in its highest vibration and frequency, and one of ours as humans is through connection. So, this energy is trying to help you by putting it in your face, and it may be a little uncomfortable. See where there are patterns in the psyche, the subconscious, that's the Pisces component, or the identity, that's the Aries component, that have become structural features in your life, that's the Capricorn component where Juno sits. They're trying to help you grow and elevate and get past hindrances in your own person to having the very love that you say you want. Okay. So, um, the way that it comes in though is through some discomfort. A few wake up calls here. So maybe some mirrors, um, or a sense of interior contention that supports you to see, what, wow, I've got this story and it's not serving me. Okay. That is also combined with this trine to Juno from Eris in Aries. Aries is almost to that first degree of Taurus where it would be an exact trine to Juno. Um, this means that for some, especially where you've been a doormat or overlooked or underappreciated or excluded and disenfranchised in connection, this is where you may feel that fire and ire in you rise enough to take new action. Now, again, stay mindful of the other energies that are in that full moon lunar update for lightworkers itself, as it can exacerbate this and leave you spending the period between now and the end of March doing damage control. All right. Now, on the other hand, if you're already skilled at speaking up for yourself and generating and sustaining clear boundaries, there's a chance that the energy of this full moon can take that to a heightened level. If you're irritated or hurting to such a degree, it's like you already had a gate and a moat to the castle, and you just added in a dragon, a legion of knights, and you know, I don't know what else you could add on to that, but it could be the kind of thing where it's like you add to the issue that's already got you separated. So again, pay attention to where there's some mirroring or there's some working against yourself here. Okay. We see a sextile to Haumea in Scorpio for Juno as well. There is a creativity here in the divine feminine energy fields with Haumea there. Like if you're wanting to facilitate new things in your life at this time by closing out of old cycles, since she is in the sign of endings and closures, Haumea, then you're in luck because the more you close out of and let go of an old cycle, especially between you and your counterpart, the more a new cycle gets reborn while Haumea is in Scorpio, especially as she makes aspects to Juno. This is going to allow you to shed old skin or maybe a shell that you've outgrown so that you can step into something completely new and different with your counterpart or in connection. Where your connection is concerned, the more you let go of old cycles at this time, especially in the arena of communication or personal identity, the more you're going to find a whole new cycle opens up in the fullness of time. So, whether you identify in some format of union or some format of separation, there's an opportunity with this energy to close a cycle so that there's room for something new. We also see a semi-sextile to Lilith in Sagittarius right there for Juno. Lilith right behind Juno in this way allows her to have or gives her a bit of a blind spot. And the blind spot is Lilith, who needs everything to be her way, otherwise, she's not playing. This can come across to other people without you meaning for it to. This is a little bit manipulative. So, again, for some who have been giving and it's not been balanced in connection, this is going to be a time of correction, not because you intentionally try to balance the scales, but because your emotions at this full moon will not let you continue to operate in an imbalanced way. Now, again, slowing down, using caution, warranted here, a little bit of self reflection if you know you've been the one on the opposite side. Now, there is more info about how to correct and signs to look for in the Lightworker Energy Update. If you have been that person who's been overgiving, um, this is a time where you're going to find that gets corrected. If you've been the person where the other person is giving and you just feel really stuck in the connection and you don't know why, this is when you may find that this energy here gets you into touch, gets you intimately in touch with why you feel stuck. You may start to really understand some key pieces of your psyche in ways that you've not had access to before. Now, if you know your connection is in a place where it has stalled, where it's not where you want it to be, whether you are together or identify in some format of separation, you can book time with me on my calendar. The link to do that is below. Relationship readings for one person are open, and in that one person reading, I will look at your chart, somebody else's chart, help you understand the other person a little bit more and where the breakdowns are if there have been. I strongly encourage you to book now. If you are two people who want to come, couples reading, kind of like a couples massage, right? Two people coming, I look at your chart, that's a 90-minute session. I can talk to both of you about your situation and help you understand each other, the other person's needs, why certain patterns have repeated, and where the opportunities for breakthrough are so you can get on another path. Again, the 90-minute couples reading is for two people. The 60-minute relationship reading is for one person. The link to book either is below. This could be a turning point year for you if you understand what has been missing and causing you to loop in connection. And now is the time to get that information. Let's take a look at the divine masculine energy, Jupiter, at this particular Cancer full moon. Here it is, Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, that 21st degree. Jupiter retrograde does bring a lot of spiritual and emotional reflection into our divine masculine energetic fields because it's got a very loose conjunction to this full moon. This allows the full moon energies to be amplified, meaning more intense, more active inside our divine masculine energetic fields. So everything I said about the emotions being heightened, realizations, truth, rectification in the Lightworker Energy Update applies even more so in our divine masculine energetic grids. We see an opposition to Venus, Mars, Vesta, and Pluto here. So here's Venus. It is a very loose opposition. We see the Sun, of course. There's Mars. Then there's Vesta, and then there's Pluto. I mean, it's a lot happening here. This part is having passion run really high in our divine masculine energetic fields, and passion runs the gamut, right? Like passion to clean up our lives, act on an emotional truth, physical passion and intimacy. These sorts of things can really show themselves at this time. You may find that you are very aroused with this particular full moon, or that you are feeling particularly inspired to take action and ambitious at this particular full moon. Passion, all the things are covered here. Because of these aspects and because of the next aspects, it can also turn into avoidance or pressure, or avoidance because of internal pressure to deal with the incongruence between needs and emotions that this full moon reveals. And that can bring about, as I said in many lunar updates prior to now for divine counterparts, a lot of ego death energy if you're using it correctly. We are supposed to be collectively going through an ego death, okay? This is where the energies really deflate the hyper spiritualization of love and spiritualize attachment, right? We're the label twin flame, and I'm putting it in air quotes right now, or soulmate, or divine connection, divine complement, divine counterpart, where any of those labels have become a barrier to actually seeing yourself and another person in the highest light, and instead had you caught up in stories about running and chasing or destiny and perfection. This is one of several lunations this year that are going to help bring you back to core truths when it comes to the way that love illuminates truth and freedom and connection and care, free from possession and ownership. The way that love demands growth and evolution without locking us into never ending healing cycles of pain and trauma. This is also going to illuminate the way that love lives in forgiveness and dies in bitterness and resentment. This is one of those times where the big feelings are going to be the gateway to big truth about what love really is and our own divinity. But that's really if we can handle the ego death. That's the price of admission. Okay. So, I'm here if you need me. You know where to find me if that's something that's showing up for you. But this is how it's showing itself in the astrology. Jupiter is also seeing a trine here to Nessus, which I find very interesting, because a Jupiter trine to Nessus in Saturn and Neptune here in Pisces, speaking to Jupiter there, and they're going to be speaking all the way to the middle of the year. This is a corrective placement that was in place for much of the latter half of last year in our divine masculine energetic fields. This is meant to bring in a dissolution of avoidance for all of us in several areas of life. Now, for some of you, it's going to be about family, it's going to be about home. For some of you, it's going to be about finances. For others, about work, mission, and purpose. And still, for other people, it's going to be about mother wounds. And of course, romantic partnership, but mostly it's going to be corrective about the avoidance of self, first and foremost. And this is going to be the best thing for connection, to have the things that have caused us to avoid ourselves get corrected at this time. So pay attention to your emotions as Jupiter is retrograde in our emotional water sign of Cancer. As Whatever you're feeling, your emotions, they're going to be the gateway to your personal truths. They're the barometer of your satisfaction with life, your life choices, and your use of personal power. What you don't like feeling, you can change with actions. What you do enjoy feeling points to your true north, and that can be amplified with choices. Okay? So pay attention because the emotions that are showing up are trying to help us get more connected to our personal power. We also see Jupiter in a square to Chiron and Eris there in Aries, which I've talked about extensively in 2025. This is going to make it plain where there is wounding that still needs to be resolved. Specifically, where in our inner divine masculinity, both the divinity part and the masculinity part, we've not really owned who we are. This full moon will have opened wounding concerning love and relationship, family and mothers, passion and ambition in particular, those three areas. So, if you're feeling emotionally tender concerning these areas and things have come up as we enter the new year, it's right on time. There's a step that you're meant to take here, a course of action that you need to follow in order to make your world a better expression of your true self, your divine self incarnate. So take some time to reflect, whether it's in a journal or with a therapist or a coach, on where you know change is needed in these areas and what's the step you can take in your life. The feelings are there for a reason. So just make sure the steps you take lead your life to more freedom, more love, more truth, right? And more of what it is you truly want because you can have it. And last aspect here is my favorite for Jupiter. It is a sextile to Uranus there at the tail end of Taurus. Now, I find it a favorite, but it can also be challenging depending upon what's unfolding. But the thing about this aspect is that in a mundane sense, it opens a rapid manifestation window that remains open until the middle of this year. This is going to be especially true when it comes to thoughts, words, and feelings, which are always, foundational of any manifestation. But there's extra emphasis on this now because Jupiter's in Cancer, all about feelings, and Uranus is headed into Gemini, all about thoughts and words. So stay mindful about the things you're ruminating on and where you can guard your emotional state and its input so that you aren't exposed to things that cause a bunch of negative thinking or low feelings about yourself, about others, or the world. Because these kinds of things can very quickly show themselves to come into form, even if you didn't mean them to. Now, I'm not saying don't feel and don't think. Like, don't talk. I'm not saying don't talk to your therapist. I'm saying don't ruminate, don't wallow, don't roll around like a pig in mud in negativity. Do what you need to do to face, integrate, process, and then do your self care. Re elevate your vibration and frequency with your focus. Okay. Now, in the twin flame sense, this is a signal that we're going to see rapid change and personal growth in a very short period of time. If you've done union workshops part 1 or 2, you'll know how to use this energy to evolve and stabilize evolution in your connection. Now, if you haven't, the best thing I can recommend is to see the divinity in your counterpart and your connection, see the light, release the past, release the pain, release the cycling and recycling of the past wounds and its processing and reprocessing. Stay focused on love. Stay focused on the good things. Stay focused on the growth and the blessings your connection has brought to you. And this is going to open the flow for the universe to amplify those things and course correct where its antithesis has shown up in your interactions. Ultimately, the chance to quantum leap for the better is really high with this energy, and it lasts all the way through the middle of the year. We're talking about July and August. Okay. So I love to see it. If you need any support knowing how to harness and leverage these energies, to move your connection to its highest timeline and expression, you can find me over at kmoonastro.com. The link to book is below. I would love to read for you before January closes. There are a few sessions left, and I look forward to connecting. Take great care, and bye for now.